I wanted to see you this one last time.
So, we're finally back. I know, you've all been asking, where have I been? So we finally revisit the Fatal Frame series. Fatal Frame 5 was recently released for the Wii U, and being the fan that I am, I of course gave Tecmo and Nintendo my hard-earned cash day one. Now if you're unfamiliar with the corner, there might be some spoilers, but they're not too extreme this time because I'm not going to delve into the story too much because there's a lot to it. So, I gave the first 3 games a lot of praise, so I was pretty excited for this one. And being on the Wii U, what could go wrong? Initially released September 14th, 2014, then a whole year later, it came to the rest of the world for the Wii U. It may be ported to other consoles on a future date, so I'll leave an annotation if that happens. Unfortunately, North America has not, as of this moment, received a physical copy. You think I'm butthurt now? I can only imagine my anger if they do decide to release a physical copy later. I have yet to play Fatal Frame 4 since, it never came to the US. So, I only know some things about it. I'm coming straight from 3, having made a video on it recently. I'll start right off with saying I really wanted to love this game, but it's making it really hard for me. What was one of the mainstays of survival horror has been with a broad appeal shovel. Not nearly as bad as Resi 6 or Homecoming, but the game just feels so different. And no, I'm not talking about motion controls. It employs this really weird mission format, exactly like the battle mode from Fatal Frame 3, except now it's the main game. It feels really different, but that's not to say it's a bad thing, it just creates a vibe that is nothing like the past games. In Fatal Frame 5, it feels really segmented, which is only exacerbated by these little recaps at the start and end of each episode. While this choice is weird, it's got other things that you'd be worried about. The game starts to feel really repetitive after a while. Go to the mountain, follow someone's trace, find them, and bring them home. I get it, you're a cute, short-haired Asian girl. That's all the incentive most of us need. But using it this many times is fucking ridiculous. Generally speaking, the first 3 games had fine controls. There were some things I didn't like, but overall, everything felt on point. So why, may I ask, are the controls so fucking jank? This game gets a nice, modern control scheme that matches most third-person games these days where you can freely manipulate the camera, which, hey, should make controlling a lot easier. It doesn't. This is so fucking clumsy. The movement in this game feels like it's just covered with Vaseline. I know what you're thinking. The game looks like it controls flawlessly. Sidle up. Here's one of the biggest problems with this game. Implementing this weird sluggish 2D control where you generally push the stick where you want to go, but is also unaffected by the camera at times. Oh no. It's like Silent Hill 4 all over again. Don't even get me started on the fucking turn arc.
It's one of your mom's fucking dash, mate.
On top of clumsy movement, the camera sensitivity has like this massive fucking acceleration. What I mean is, the thing is like an old ass sputtering car. You gotta give her a minute to warm up. Look at this. Do you see how long it takes for the camera to start getting up to speed? For being such small, feeble Japanese girls, I wouldn't think they would maneuver like morbidly obese people. The controls feel sloppy and poorly done. Oh yeah, get this. To run you hold left trigger, which by itself, fine, but guess what?
It's also the camera reset button and the quick turn button.
You hear that? That's 2 completely unutilized buttons.
So you have 3 functions assigned to a single button. A button that deals with movement no less. Smart. You might argue something dumb like it's the modern approximation of tank controls. No, tank controls are timeless. Tank controls are life. The controls are butt, except when it comes to the motion controls. Keisuke Kikuchi, the producer of the entire series, actually decided on the Wii U as their choice of console because . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 」 」 」 . 」 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 And I wholeheartedly agree. This is a perfect match of game and console. Before I delve into the problems, I really want to emphasize how much I love this whole getup. This is the coolest shit! The gamepad is easily the best part about the Wii U, and it's utilized so well in this game. The only thing that loses me is why I can't use the touchscreen for the menus. Now, I love this fucking over-the-top gaming, but it works better in theory than it does in execution. So unless you're like me and own an official Nintendo Seal of Quality gamepad chair, then most likely you're gonna be anchored to your seat or standing up. So either they expect you to own a gamepad chair, stand up, or more sensibly, use a combination of the thumbstick for general looking and fine-tune the gyroscopic gamepad. Playing in the gamepad chair or standing up is so fun and involving. Sure, you look like a dumbass doing it. What's the point of video games if I'm not having fun? Truly, it is fun, but just about the most impractical thing ever. Usually I'd start by spinning around for like 5 minutes, then I'd gravitate towards the latter. Even with the gooey fucking acceleration, playing with both motion and analog controls in tandem is good. The only thing I can't wrap my head around is the lack of a quick turn while in camera mode. Unless I totally glanced over it, you can't quick turn while your camera's up. I feel like you could have completely ditched the right thumbstick if there was a way to spin around. You can turn off motion controls, which makes it just like a regular Fatal Frame game, albeit with some slop. Here's what really bums me out. If it wasn't for these fucked controls, the combat would easily be the most fun of the series. The past games definitely had an element of arcadey shooter to them, but in this one it seems like the main focus. It's still mostly like the third game in terms of overall mechanics. You got film types, different lenses, etc. The biggest difference is pretty much removing spirit power. 1 and 3 they had a timed aspect, while in 2 you had a distance one. This time it's all about getting as many spirits and orbs as you possibly can in the viewfinder. How you frame your shot, so to speak. Now it doesn't really change too much because unless you're fucking off on the games, you best be going for the Fatal Frames. Since you don't really have to worry about how far they are, how long they've been in your sights, you really just have to worry about the Fatal Frames, and that's where I draw one of my biggest criticisms about the combat. It's just easy as fuck. The game is just too easy. Adding to the ease, they added a lock-on button. Here's a choice that I really don't get. First, I have the super precise motion controls. Second, the ghosts really don't move that erratically. And lastly, I can lock onto them. The ghosts just don't stand a chance. Throw in Ren's 8-burst shot function and Jesus, they're fucking donezo. On top of all of that, if you turn off motion controls, which displays the HUD on the main screen, it removes the claustrophobic camera borders. Overall, the combat feels like a good step in the right direction for the series, albeit a bit too easy. It, like 2 and 3, improves upon the combat marginally, but it's still more or less the same solid-ass setup from the very first game. The motion controls just make it more innovative and involving. Returning from Fatal Frame 4 is the reaching out to get grabbed by a ghost gimmick. See, that gimmick with the Wiimote? A fucking plus. Holding a button? Nope. I bet you'd never guess, but this gets old quick. Also, I cannot get over how goofy this all looks. This noodly arm that just manifests out of nowhere and gives you a firm grasping.
Firmly grasp it in your hand. Firmly grasp it. Firmly grasp it!
A new thing they added was a wetness mechanic. Since this game has a water motif, they added this wetness mechanic that, depending on how wet you are, attracts more ghosts compared if you were dry. As you can see, they implement
Wet flow sticking to butt technology.
what seems like something that would change how you play the game, ends up just feeling like a quick tacked on feature that kind of increases how often you encounter ghosts. I paid almost no mind to it, and I turned out fine.
Hey Ryan, you've been in there for a while. Are you alright? Oh no.
It does actually increase the frequency, but since your score is only dependent on points anyway, I'm gonna take all the points I can get. It's just there. So, let's talk ghosts. Are they good? Bad? Spooky? Well, I can say they are definitely some of the best looking ghosts in sheer
Poly pushing power.
artistically speaking, I think they're, somewhere between 1 and 2. Some of these ghosts are really fucking good. that's counterbalanced by some less than good ones. The lady from Killer Dead is here.
A lot.
This box carrying guy is actually really awesome once you realize what is carried in those boxes. Another thing I've seen brought up quite often is
the game scary?
no, it is not. This one is literally not scary. I don't know if this totally went unnoticed, but the attempt at horror in this game is just aloof. It has moments and ideas that have a shit ton of potential, but it's missing the spook part of spooky. Let's jump to one of the best parts of a Fatal Frame game, the story. Here's something I actually was pretty happy with in the end. At first, I wasn't having none of that, but after playing it 2.5 times, I've grown to like it. While the story isn't as good as 2 or 3's, ultimately I was pretty happy with it. Again, I haven't played 4, so I have no idea how that game's story is in comparison. So the game takes place on Mount Hikami. This mountain, which is eerily similar to the Aokigahara Forest in Japan, was a popular tourist spot, but more recently has become renowned for its ample suicides and ritualistic sacrifice. Shockingly, this area has a history of ritualistic sacrifice. These shrine maidens are sacrificed in order to become pillars, which both bear these heavy grievances and to guide the dying onto the netherworld. There are a lot more interesting details revolving around the rituals of the game, and ghost marriages. But this time it seems to take the backseat to our 3 main characters. The protagonists are really pushed to the forefront this time around. We end up learning more about Yuri, Ren, Rui, and Miu as much as the rituals. I won't drone on the story too much because it's quite a mouthful. Yuri has the special ability to see ghosts and also retrieve people from the spirit world. While practicing her newfound skills with Hosoka, they uncover this hidden album full of post-mortem photographs. They take this book over to Ren Hojo, a writer. Ren has been plagued by these reoccurring nightmares about this young girl and her sacrifice. Miu, the daughter of Miku, is found in one of Hisoka's missing persons files. Yuri rescues her and becomes a third playable character. Hisoka goes missing a second time and Yuri goes to save her just like Hisoka did once for her. Miu does find Miku, but Miku is bound in a ghost marriage and called back to the mountain. So after that fucking mouthful, our 3 main protagonists go in search of those that are dear to them. There are a total of 8 endings. Luckily, they did the cool thing where each ending can be obtained in the very final chapter, so you don't have to play the game in all of its entirety each time. If you'd like to see those endings and how to get them, click here. The endings were all pretty good. Of course, being the sap that I am, I preferred the good endings, but knowing these fucks, the canonical ones are probably the depressing bad endings. Like previous games, the story is very dense, as in there's a lot of elements to it. It could get its own separate video. So overall, the story isn't spectacular, but it's pretty good. The writing was still awesome, but good lord, switch it to Japanese voices. The English cast is not great. Bringing Miku back and making her incestuous was such a weird fucking addition. She was supposed to have moved on at the end of 3. Why is she back again? I will say Makoto Shibata, or whoever does the bulk of the writing, really knows how to make me fucking feel. I was moved by so many parts. I used this for my fucking intro before I even made a video about the game. So, after beating the game, you unlock some costumes, depending on what ending you get, I believe. Also, you unlock this really weird crossover of Fatal Frame and Dead or Alive, where you play as Ayane. Okay. Instead of an actual weapon, you get this thing to stun the ghosts and sneak past them. It's short, pointless, but not offensive or anything. It's just there. Also, you unlock the series staple, Nightmare Mode. It's still pretty easy, putting it on par with normal difficulty in the first game. And then, it dawned on me. I've been a pretty big hypocrite about the whole thing, honestly. I'll sit here and cry about how Resident Evil and Silent Hill keep getting dragged through the mud, but Fatal Frame? Oh baby, keep them coming, oh baby, I'm hungry for more. After playing through this though, I kinda realized we didn't need another Fatal Frame. Think about it, Fatal Frame 3 sums it up all perfectly. Rei and Miku both go on with their lives, and Kei and Miu are both reunited. I didn't even honestly think where they'd take the story after I'd beaten 3. There weren't any loose ends. It wraps up quite nicely. I mean, Fatal Frame 5 is nowhere near the likes of Resident Evil 6 or Silent Hill Homecoming in this pack of modernized survival horror games. That's just it though. It has that pseudo-modernized survival horror feeling. The gameplay is streamlined, the horror is far less pronounced, it has more wide appeal, and so on.
Honestly, this has been a really hard video to write up. On one hand, I want to love this game. It has a lot of cool things going for it, but overall, it's just okay. I still think 2 or 3 are easily the best of the series.
And that's really it. It's just okay. I didn't really read any reviews per se, but I did glance over them and just look at the numerical value they gave them. And as much as I wanted to sit there and be like, oh, these fucking mainstream critics know what the fuck they're talking about, I generally agree with mostly what they say. You know, when I see a 3 out of 5 or a 6 to 7 out of 10, that's pretty fucking spot on, honestly. There's a lot of things I like in the game, there's a lot of things I didn't like in the game. Now, the big question, is it worth $50? And to be honest with you, I can't tell you. I can tell you, it depends on who you're asking. If you're asking someone that's a fan of the series, oh, for sure, I'm not disappointed I paid $50 at all. But if you're kind of new to the whole thing, it's gonna be a tough sell. On top of not having a physical copy, it's even harder to be like, yeah man, get it. It's got things, controls mainly, that are big issues with it that I can't really see like easily pawning off on someone. But if you are a fan of the series, I can definitely recommend it. If you're not, wait for the inevitable price drop. It's gonna happen. So, until next time, we get to this really bomb-ass, really good, scary, awesome Wii game. It's so fucking good!